What's going on, everybody? Most men who leave an outlaw motorcycle club exit the same way they lived in it. Hard, loud, violent. A fist fight in a parking lot. A vote gone sideways. Sometimes a body. Always a message. But not this time. Because when Keith Ball walked away, he didn't make a sound. No smoke, no blood, no meeting, no goodbyes. One day he was in the room, respected, connected, built into the walls of the outlaw world. The next day he wasn't. And somehow, that silence hit harder than 1,000 gunshots ever could. To understand why, you've got to understand him. Because Keith Ball was never chasing the patch, he was chasing the machine. Built for the road. It didn't start with chrome or noise or rebellion. It started with a kid in Southern California staring at a used Honda Super Cub when he was 14. The neighbor wanted to sell. Keith wanted to ride. Simple, until he asked his dad.
And then when I was 14, the kid next door was selling his Honda 55 Super Cub. And I went to my dad and I said, I'm thinking about buying this. And he said, I hate bike and I hate bikers.
His father, a hard man who worked the oil fields, delivered his verdict with zero hesitation. I hate bikes and I hate bikers. Then came the story. Every morning, a guy on a Triumph would buzz past Keith's father's little Datsun pickup, going faster and faster, dressing rougher every week. Leather jacket, long hair, beard. One day the biker cut too close, went down, and Keith's father stopped to help. When the rider said he was okay, Keith's dad replied, "Serves you right, you son of a bitch." That was Keith's introduction to biker culture. Not a blessing, not guidance, just a rule. You're on your own. So Keith did exactly that. Bought the bike, paid the insurance, taught himself everything. At 18, he joined the Navy, went to Vietnam, survived the noise, the heat, the metal, and came back changed in every way except one. He still needed a motorcycle beneath him. He bought a brand new 69 Sportster, customized it, extended the front end until a Polaroid photo showed him the truth. I looked huge and the bike looked tiny. I thought, I've got to get rid of this. So he did. He replaced it with a 66 Long Beach police bike. Tank shift, stripped down, heavy, built for work, not show. That bike became the start of something bigger. Keith began flipping old LAPD bikes in a tiny one-car garage, grinding, tuning, rebuilding engines he barely had space for. Then came the man who would change everything, Bob George, the legendary builder behind the Easy Rider Streamliner.
Bob George is the guy who built the Easy Rider Streamliner. And he started teaching me how to build engine.
Bob didn't waste words. He taught through grease and metal. And soon Keith was dragging a Sun and Hone into his little garage, rebuilding motors like he'd been doing it for decades. Before long, Keith wasn't just riding motorcycles, he was creating them. And with every machine he built, something else was forming too. A presence, a voice, a reputation. One that would carry him into rooms most men never see. The voice inside the club. There's a certain type of man outlaw clubs don't know how to categorize. Quiet, useful, respected, a listener, a man who earns trust without demanding it. That was Keith, big man, 6'4", riding a heavy long-distance machine built like a tractor. Never broke down, always steady.
A big man, he was like 6'4". His bike was like a tractor, man. It was heavy duty, built for the road. Him and I put a lot of miles on together.
By the mid-70s, he'd patched into the Los Angeles chapter of the Hells Angels, but he had something most patched members never get: reach. He was wrenching. He was writing for Easy Riders. He was helping form ABATE, the biker rights organization, in 1972. He was influencing magazines, politics, law, and outlaw culture all at once. One former brother recalls, "The Satan's slaves didn't like many people, but they liked Keith. He wasn't loud. He wasn't reckless. He wasn't trying to be famous, but he was everywhere, in garages, in courts, in magazines, in meetings where state laws were being shaped. And in the outlaw world, usefulness is power. Power you don't always realize you're accumulating it until someone else does." Meanwhile, Keith had something most outlaw leaders quietly feared: a direct line to clubs around the world, and a voice in print. That alone makes you a threat. The first shift. The margins started to move after the infamous swap meet fight, a brutal clash between angels and Mongols that left tables overturned, knives flashing, and sirens screaming. Sonny Barger, the strategic mind of the Hells Angels, didn't blame the tension, the build-up, or the inevitable rivalry. He blamed Keith. One old school member said, Sonny felt threatened by him. Keith had an influence Sonny couldn't control.
As the editor of Easy Rider, he had an open line of communication to clubs all over the world. And, I think Sonny felt a little threatened by him. And
no formal accusations, no confrontations, just whispers, looks, pauses, the kind of atmosphere where a man realizes he's being pushed toward a line without anyone saying it out loud. Calls grew shorter, invitations became fewer, conversations ended faster, and Keith, the man who always felt the pulse of a room, knew what that meant. The exit. Most men need a fight to justify leaving, a betrayal, a sentence, a scar. Keith didn't. He noticed the shift early enough, the room tilting, the tone changing, the air getting thicker. He focused on his garage, on speed bikes for Bonneville, on writing, on lobbying, on building something beyond the patch. He stopped wearing his colours daily, not in disrespect, but instinct. Then he simply didn't show up. One day, then another, then another. No speech, no rebellion, no drama. Just a clean, silent, surgical exit. The rarest move in outlaw history. A former member said, I'm glad he stepped aside. I don't know what would have happened otherwise.
Keith's a good guy. He's living out towards the Sturgis area. And I think you go to Sturgis by running.
Because even after Keith left, Sonny still talked, still simmered, still saw him as a threat. But the danger never reached Keith, because he was already gone. Not running, not hiding, just moving forward. Bonneville, Sturgis, and beyond. Keith didn't fade away. He evolved. He set up shop in Deadwood, South Dakota, surrounded by engines, tanks, photos, and tools. A museum disguised as a garage. He kept building, kept innovating, kept chasing speed. 4 land speed records. The Salt Torpedo Streamliner trike. His obsession. A machine built to carve through the desert like a bullet. And when he wasn't building, he was fighting the battles outlaw bikers never see. Right to repair, helmet laws, EPA pressure, federal overreach. Through groups like the Motorcycle Riders Foundation, he pushed back hard. He joined the board at the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum. He mentored builders. He kept writing through his site BikerNet, a digital garage of stories, tech, culture, and sharp outlaw commentary. And the wild part? The respect never stopped. Even old-school one-percenters are men who forget nothing, can still nod when his name comes up. Not because he stayed patched in, not because he rode the hardest, but because he walked away clean and kept contributing. His legacy spans Hall of Fame inductions, national awards, and land speed glory. But Keith isn't defined by plaques or titles. He's defined by motion, by presence, by the simple fact that he never needed the patch to validate the road beneath him. And in a world where most men fade when they step away, Keith Ball kept going.